Hi everyone. An inline deployment from Keysight can bring many benefits to a production network, increasing high availability and network resiliency within the environment. Additionally, you can make your tools much more efficient by decrypting and then filtering the data before you deliver to the tools so they don't have to decrypt it and they only see the data they need. Finally, you can solve compliance headaches by bypassing things like health records or banking records that you don't want to even be touching. I'm Hans Hohenner. I'm a senior systems engineer at Keysight, and over the next series of videos, we're going to walk through how to configure all of this, including setting up an iBypass Duo, a Vision 1 packet broker, an active SSL card, and finally configuring all the service chains and heartbeats within the environment so that all the tools are operating in concert with each other for a fully functioning solution. So let's review the equipment we will be using. For the bypass switch, we'll be using an iBypass Duo, as shown here. It sits on your production network and is kept as a separate piece of equipment by design. This is critical to providing the network resiliency to the overall solution. In the event of a failure, the bypass switch can independently decide to fail open, fail closed, or even bring the network links down to force a network convergence to another network path. In the next video, we will build the iBypass Duo configuration, including how to cable the equipment. We will talk about how heartbeats work and how to use bypass switch and network packet broker heartbeats in tandem in the overall solution. We will also discuss some change management and production cutover considerations for when you deploy your iBypass Duo into your network. Finally, we'll touch on how to set up HA, as shown in this picture, but we won't actually be implementing this during this video series. The next piece of equipment is the Vision 1 network packet broker, as shown here. It receives the data from the iBypass Duo and decrypts it if necessary. It then feeds the data to a service chain of tools, which is just a series of tools that receives the data in sequence. The Vision 1 manages these service chains, including traffic management and filtering to make sure that the service chain only gets the data it can inspect, making the tools much more efficient. It also performs session-aware load balancing across these tools within a tool group inside of a service chain and takes care of failure detection and handling either for an individual tool, a group of tools, or the entire service chain. After the data passes through the service chain, the Vision 1 then re-encrypts the data if necessary before returning it back up to the iBypass Duo and onto the production network. In the third video of the series, we will build the Vision 1 configuration, including how to cable the equipment. We will continue our discussion on how to properly use both bypass and network packet broker heartbeats in tandem to handle all failure scenarios. We'll talk a lot more about some change management and production cutover considerations, including using a stub service chain for testing prior to go live. We will also configure the service chains themselves, priority-based filtering, VLAN translation, and tool sharing, and show how to use multiple service chains to handle different types of traffic. Finally, we'll touch on the subject of encrypted traffic, although that's really the subject of the fourth video in the series. So now that we've looked at the various pieces of technology we're going to be using for the solution, let's take a moment to talk through the architecture and the call flow of how the data will travel through the solution and what the architecture will look like. So the first picture you see here up on the screen is pretty vanilla. Internet router, firewall, core switch, and corporate network. Doesn't get much simpler than that. The first thing we'll do in this network is we want to insert the bypass Duo into the network. That's breaking this link, taking an outage momentarily while we hook up the cables of the bypass Duo, get it in tap mode only so the data is just passing through it like any other bump on the wire. And then once you're done, you check your firewall, make sure things are running fine, and then we move forward with building the rest. The next step is to insert the Vision 1 into the picture. This allows us to do things like add stub functions and get the Vision 1 configuration set and ready to go for the full inline deployment. We'll add some tools underneath here as we're doing this, and eventually we'll migrate the firewall from this link up here down to behind the Vision 1. So the full picture looks like this, and don't worry about the complexity. We'll go through all of this through the video series. But the couple things to note here, first of all, notice we move the firewall down here. We've got our entire service chain that we talked about up here built out. We also got a lab over here where we can take a live copy of production traffic into a lab setting for whatever testing or change window verification steps that you might need to perform within your environment. So let's take a day in the life of a packet and kind of walk through of how this goes. So step one, the data comes from the internet router to the iBypass Duo, and in step two, it goes down to the Vision 1. Step three, the active SSL card within the Vision 1 would then decrypt the data, and in step four would be a simultaneous event. The first step of it, or the first path, would be to copy the data over to this lab. In parallel, it would also copy it down into the threat armor. Threat armor is a box that makes the rest of your tools much more efficient because it can remove bad traffic off of the network, and therefore the firewall is only inspecting good traffic. So any sort of denial of service or bad actors out there on the internet would just be immediately stripped off the top by the threat armor. Very cost effective for many of our customers. Anyways, the traffic comes down to the threat armor and it goes back up to the Vision 1, and that completes the first leg of the service chain. The second leg is a repeat of that, although going down to the firewall and then coming back up again. That's the second leg of the service chain. The third leg is coming down into the WAF, the Web Application Firewall, or DLP for data loss prevention, or any other tool you've got, and then going back up to the Vision 1. You can add fourth, fifth, etc. legs to this and make this service chain as full features as you would like. But in essence, you can see how the tools are fed the traffic one after another in sequence. And then finally, the data comes back up to the Vision 1, where in step 10, it's re-encrypted, put back on the wire up to the iBypass Duo, and in the iBypass Duo allows the traffic to go further back into the corporate network. If the traffic is coming from the corporate network back out again, all of this just happens in reverse. It goes 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, all the way back down to step 1, where it goes out towards the internet. Hope you found this effective and useful. If you got any further questions, please hit us at jointhejourney@keysight.com as shown here, and we'll talk to you more in the further videos. Take care.